What is going on? It has been quite some time since I've gone live. It's actually been probably about 2 weeks since I put out a video. I actually just watched 2.5 hours of Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I've been following him for quite some time. I've read 12 Rules of Life. I'm going to download his audiobook and re-listen to it. But I actually just wanted to give a recap on his best interview that he's ever given, in my opinion. You could disagree, but I think he was the most comfortable. Because Dr. Oz not only gets it, he understands how to actually interview. And honestly, just psychologically, that's all that they cover. Is they don't really go into politics at all. So I'm at work. I'm leaving right now, actually 4:30. So there's a couple of points I want to bring up that he talked about, and these are more advanced, kind of nuanced points. So the first one is rights and responsibility. Okay, so rights and responsibility, obviously everyone says, I have a right to this, I have a right to that, free healthcare, free food, free housing, free whatever, free money, it doesn't really matter. But people are always saying that they have rights to something, and the way that Dr. Jordan Peterson spelled it out, and it so brilliantly and eloquently, is that it's actually a cyclical responsibility and rights come in hand, because you can't actually live to your fullest responsibility if there are no rights, because that's just chaos. And then if you have too many rights and there's no responsibility, nothing gets built. So it's actually an amazing symbiotic relationship between rights and responsibility. And that's the thing, is that everyone wants to say, I have a right to, I want a right to anything. I'm entitled to something, yet they are actually not even, as he says it, cleaning their room, getting their shit together. So they're claiming that they actually want something, but there's no responsibility being taken. There's no accountability being held. And he said, actually, the biggest way to get people, because he's talking about hierarchies. A hierarchy is obviously in anything. It doesn't matter. School, you're going to have the A, and then you're going to have everyone else below that, B, C, and it's always going to be in kind of a pyramid shape or triangle shape. And he said that the easiest way to bring people from object, maybe not confident or anything like that, from the bottom to the top, is actually responsibility. That minor little thing of seeing meaning in something that you're doing, exposing yourself periodically to fear that you actually want to do, fear of public speaking, of making money, of relationships, that object, minor little things that you could do every single day. So that's number one. Number two is fundamentally, meaning is everything. Okay, so in other words, the easiest way today, because they both agreed, and these are guys that have been around for a while. These are very smart individuals. I don't know Dr. Oz as much, but I'm assuming based on the conversation and the way he was able to actually frame his questions, he understood Dr. Jordan Peterson, because Dr. Jordan Peterson not only went emotional and he cried and everything else, which was, I think, the first time I've seen him do that, is he went so deep into this that it's just, honestly, there's a couple of parts, and I'm really good at following it. There's a couple of parts that I'm going to have to go back. But in other words, the easiest way to look at it right now is that gratitude is the biggest lacking in society right now. Is that we're so far ahead of where we want to go, number one, and comparing ourselves where we are right now to other people, that there is no gratitude of the journey. There is no gratitude of all the people that came before us and built roads, that discovered all these things, discovered how we can easily have healthcare, or food delivered, or water delivered, or clean water. All these things that we just take for granted. There is no gratitude. And they said fundamentally, because they're talking about the universal basic income, and they said fundamentally meaning will be the most important thing coming up. And I cannot stress that enough. When I was in Fiji, they have nothing compared to what we have. Nothing. Their runway looks like a shitty asphalt basketball court that hasn't been paved in 70 years. And that's where they land planes. That's where we landed. We were in Savu Savu. Is it Savu Savu? I think that's the name of it. And then just the roads, the church had 4x4s and then a tin roof. Like, you already know the story about that. They had the happiest people in the world. So it's not wealth. It's not money. Meaning is it. Meaning and gratitude. All right? That's the most important thing. And this is actually a very interesting point that I wrote down here. Is that good people, when it's so good, will create drama. When things are so good, is that we will actually, and I wrote here, when it's too good, people will do negative things to spice it up. That is so interesting. I know it in relationships between friends that I've had. I know it in businesses that I used to work at where things are going so good, so smoothly, and then you get that one person that just wants to create drama, okay? The third thing that I wrote down, or the fourth thing I should say, is that you're a creator of your life. Okay, creator, obviously, if you want to go metaphysical, or however, is that metaphysical? Creator of your life every single morning. In other words, you wake up, you create the reality. In other words, you create what you want to do based on the decisions that you want to make for that day. That is so powerful. That really is so powerful. That is unbelievably, like, if you really, say you come from it, you don't know who I am. Many of you don't. Like we've never met. But if you think about that, you wake up, your alarm goes off, and you objectively think about that one thing tonight, that you wake up and then you could do whatever you want, that's amazing, okay? In other words, you make the decision to snooze your alarm, to go to the gym, what you want to eat, if you want to make sales calls. And then the last thing that I wrote down, which was very interesting. What's going on, Adam? How we doing? The last thing, which was very interesting, is that Dr. Oz, obviously you have this whole talk of, men and women and, Me Too and sexual harassment and things like that. And there's a massive divide, I don't know. Maybe it is online. I don't know what it's like in person. I kind of do, which is, I don't know. I'm living my life exactly the same. But Dr. Oz said something very interesting, because he sees it more and more often, is that women are the as he said it, the ones that actually file for divorce more often. And he wanted to know why. And obviously with autonomy and the rights and the ability for women to pretty much get whatever they want. They don't need us to get pregnant. They can have surrogates for money, financial. They don't need us for protection. They pretty much have everything they need with the police and the military and the government and rights. So there's a lot of things that men provided women that they don't need to provide anymore. It's already being provided. So you have this whole loss, and I'm actually going to be talking about it this week. There's this whole loss in men on, okay, what are we supposed to do? Where do I fit in? And then the actual trajectory of women graduating from college and education. In other words, they have so many resources, they're all looking towards the top. And then you have all these guys that are at the bottom. All right? So this is, so Dr. Oz asked this very interesting point. He said, what's the difference between men and women? He said, well, actually, men and women are we're more alike than dissimilar. And he said that, and it's all mental, obviously, and obviously physical, but mentally, in other words, men are more or less agreeable, women are more agreeable. Okay, so women are actually more prone to neuroticism, which is, depression, anxiety, things like that. Men err on the side of violence. That's why if you go to a prison, it's 10-1, men in prison. So on the extremes, women actually try and commit suicide more often, okay? Why am I saying this? Because we have to go back to, I don't want to say science, we have to go back to objectively looking at things. If women are trying to commit suicide, and by the way, men are more successful at committing suicide because we do it because we're more prone to violence and we just see it through. We just do it. We're more violent, so we just do it. Which actually goes back to these points that I made, which is if you are fighting for rights and there is no responsibility, and I'm not talking about men and women right now, I'm just talking about in your life, you're fighting for rights, but there's no responsibility, there is no meaning, which is the second point. And fundamentally, if there is no meaning, then good people do bad things because they need to spice it up. And that all boils down to the last point, which is you're the creator of what you want to do. Obviously, mentally, physically, blah, blah, blah. I bring all that down is that we need to objectively look at things. I'm a real estate agent. When I go into the sale of an apartment, I didn't live there. An owner did. I'm objectively saying, this is the way that I want to market the home. This is the way I think it should be priced. This is when we should come onto the marketplace. I'm objectively looking at it. They're saying, well, my kid's going to school, because they're subjectively saying, I'm living in the apartment you're trying to sell. Okay, it's our life. When we look at videos, highly recommend you watch this video. When we look at a video like this, we have to objectively look at it. There's things in there that I didn't agree with, you know, and I know Chris sent that an Instagram message, and that's going to be a video this week. How do you pull out the things that you agree and then you shove away? And actually, Jordan Peterson brought it up today. Dr. Jordan Peterson brought it up today. He said, listen, there's a lot of things from Carl Jung, from what's going on, Kelly. There's a Carl Jung, you know, Freud, from Nietzsche, you know, I'm probably said his name wrong. But honestly, you look at those guys, you're not going to agree with all those things. You know, Freud was not very good with women. You know, he was not good with women. He was very abusive towards women. So you shove that away and you don't break down the character of the entire individual. You remove the things. So if I was someone that disagreed with Jordan Peterson on, say, all of his political things, or Dr. Oz on, you know, some of the methods of him actually, I don't know, giving whatever, his diagnosis, I would say Dr. Jordan Peterson hits home that responsibility is everything, because if you have no responsibility, you cannot create your life. If you cannot create your life, there is no meaning in life. And then if there's no meaning in life, that's where everything breaks down. That is literally where everything breaks down. Your relationships are going to break down. Because if you have, this last week, I worked very heavily on my website. We put we put about $4.5 million into contracts. So that's like, financially, that's good and everything else, but I wanted to work on, you know, building out a couple of things and blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm not going to get into that. But the biggest thing that I noticed is that when I'm not on my path of long-term, which is making money and building out the business, you start to lose it in 1 week. Imagine compounding that over years. Highly recommend you check it out. It's very deep. This just pretty much gave you the recap. You don't have to check it out if you don't want to. It's completely up to you. Objectively look at things. Have an amazing Sunday. I'm going to be back with videos. We're going to get them edited. We're just going to do a lot better. We're going to have better thumbnails, better tags, better descriptions, because you know, I'm about 7 years into the into the YouTube game, and to have, you know, not a bigger channel, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it's me. How do I need to improve? What do I need to do? All right? How do I get my shit out there where this can reach more people? So have an amazing day. Talk to you guys soon. And the videos this week will be fire.